People often ask me what changed when I went from broke losing poker player to 10+ year professional poker player, and it's not so much anything that I added to my game, it's these 7 things that I eliminated from my game. Let's jump into it. Number 1, fancy play syndrome. Guys, this one is an absolute killer. I see it with my students all the time, and beginners and amateur poker players alike. Basically, when you get tricky at the poker table, you lose. Let me give you an example. A fishy poker player raises it up and you look down at 2 red aces, the best hand ever created, the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds. But for some reason you decide to just call. You decide to get tricky. Now, this is one of these recreational poker players that we're up against. We know they're playing all sorts of trashy garbage hands. There is absolutely no reason for us to slow play our hand here, to be deceptive. We should simply be making a strong re-raise in order to build the size of the pot so that we can win a bigger pot. But let's go see the flop now of the 10 of diamonds, jack of spades, and 5 of hearts. They check, you check. This is mistake number 2. Why are we checking here? There is no conceivable reason why, when you have pocket aces here, you would continue to play in this fancy manner, especially against a recreational player who we know will call if they have any draw, any piece of this board. If they've got a straight draw, if they've got bottom pair, they're calling. So you are only shooting yourself in the foot here by continuing to play a strong hand in a deceptively slow manner. Turn comes down with the 3 of clubs. They make a small bet and you decide to just call. This is mistake number 3. You should be making a strong raise here. How are you going to win a big pot if you don't start building it? And the river comes down with the deuce of diamonds. They check, you make a big bet, they call. Congratulations on your tiny pot that you've just won with pocket aces. Guys, you only get dealt pocket aces 1 out of every 221 hands, and if you consistently play it with this fancy play syndrome, you are only costing yourself money. This is why so many amateurs fail to win at poker. Number 2, bad calls. Guys, let me just be blunt here. Rocks aren't bluffing you. Now, rocks are the exact opposite of the fishy player type that we just talked about. This is the tightest player at the table. They are literally sitting around waiting for pocket aces, pocket kings, ace king, all of the strongest hands. So let me give you an example once again. You raise it up with the 10-9 of diamonds, a beautiful little hand. By the way, if you want to know all of the hands that I suggest playing, I have charts and diagrams showing you exactly what hands to play in my free poker cheat sheet, and I will leave a link to that in the description below. But anyways, a rock calls you. So we know, once again, tightest player at the table, guys, alarm bells need to be going off. Flop comes down very favorable for us with the 10 of spades, 6 of hearts, and 4 of hearts. So we have hit top pair on this board. Beautiful, right? So you make a bet, they call. Now, against any other normal player type, this wouldn't be a cause for alarm, but remember, we are up against the tightest player at the table, and it is extremely unlikely that they are calling us here on the flop with a hand that we are currently ahead of. Turn comes down with the deuce of spades. You decide to bet again, and they raise. What on earth is going on here, guys? Well, let me just be super blunt here. You need to fold your hand now. This is one of the biggest mistakes that amateur poker players make, is calling down the tightest player at the table with a marginal hand like top pair with an okay kicker, when it is very clear that this player is representing an extremely tight range. What does this player have here when they raise you on the turn? They are representing a hand like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, or perhaps they even have a 10 as well, but guess what? They're going to have a 10 with a bigger kicker, such as ace 10, king 10, queen 10. Guys, I hope you get the idea here. The tightest player at the table, the rock, the nit, they're not bluffing you when they raise you on the turn or the river. Take it to the bank. Learning how to make disciplined laydowns here has been one of the biggest factors in my success over the years as a 10+ year professional poker player. Number 3, chasing bad draws. Guys, it is super important that you only chase draws to the nuts, and the nuts is just a slang term that we use in poker for the best hand possible or one of the best hands possible. Let me give you an example once again. So a regular player raises it up. This is just a typical player that you see day in and day out in your games. They are neither too tight nor too loose. They are reasonable players. They are trying trying to win. They are often watching a video like this. They do take the game seriously. However, they still make all sorts of large fundamental mistakes. They run the gamut from small losing player to small winning player. This is the huge glut of players in the middle, your most common opponent in today's games. So you decide to make the call with the 7-6 of hearts, a beautiful little suited connector that I love to play in many situations, especially when I know I'm up against one of these mediocre players. I want to try to outplay them. So the flop comes down with the ace of clubs, 9 of spades, and 8 of diamonds. They bet you call. Now, what is the problem here? We have an open-ended straight draw. This is a great flop for us, right? Guys, the problem here is simple. Yes, we do have an open-ended straight draw. We can catch any of the 4 remaining 10s in the deck or any of the 4 remaining 5s in the deck to make a straight. However, it is important to note that only the 5 will give us the nut straight, and what I mean by that is the best straight possible. And let's see exactly why that's the case right now. Turn comes down with the 10 of diamonds. They bet, you raise, they go all in. Guys, at this point, serious alarm bells need to be going off in your mind. What is a regular player shoving all of their chips in the middle here with? Well, you can go ahead and make the call here, and they're going to flip over queen jack of spades for the nut straight, and they will win a massive pot. You've got the lower straight, they've got the higher straight. So I hope that this simple example here shows you why it is so important that you only chase draws, that if you are to make your draw, it will be the best hands. Number 4, not your day. Guys, I'm going to be totally honest here. I have had days, weeks, and actually even months sometimes where I've literally lost every single hand. Let me give you an example. Once again, you've got the ace king of diamonds, an absolutely beautiful hand. You're at the final table of a tournament. You shove all in, and one of those fishy players calls you with the ace of spades, 3 of hearts. Boom. We know that we're in a dominant position here. We are 71% to win, but the board runs out with the 10 of hearts, 10 of spades, 3 of diamonds, 5 of spades, 7 of hearts. Guys, if you played any amount of tournament poker or cash games, this has undoubtedly happened to you many, many times. Stuff like this will happen again and again. Throughout my entire professional poker career, I have faced setbacks like this, sometimes for days, weeks, or months. My results skyrocketed when I simply learned to quit on these days. I did not sit in there continuing to play in my worst mental state, trying to be Captain Comeback at the poker tables. That never works, let's be honest. Guys, sometimes when everything is going wrong for you at the poker table, the best thing you can absolutely do is just quit for the day, go do something completely different, and come back the next day with a clear head and a clear mind, ready to crush them again. Number 5, showing the bluff. Guys, I'm going to be brutally blunt once again, never do this. So you raise it up with a beautiful suited connector, once again the 7 of clubs and the 8 of clubs, and a regular player calls you. So once again, one of these just ho-hum typical players you're going to see in today's games. They're neither too tight nor too loose. They play their hands in a pretty predictable manner. So the flop comes down with the 6 of diamonds, 4 of spades, and queen of hearts. You make a bet, they call. Pretty typical spot on this board. It's not a terrible flop for us. We do have an inside straight draw to the nut straight. If it came with a 5 on the turn or river, we would make the unbeatable 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight. So let's go see the turn now of the ace of hearts. You bet, they fold, and you decide to flash the old bluff there. Guys, never do this. I know a lot of players get their ego involved in today's games, and that's probably why they do it. But I'm going to tell you, congratulations. When you do this, all you've actually done is just given a regular player free information. You've basically just told them for free, hey, I like to double barrel my draws as a bluff on the turn, and they're simply going to use this information against you in future situations. Guys, I have an ironclad rule at the poker table: no free information. I do not show bluffs. If you want to see my hand, pay. It's very, very simple. Nothing is free in life. Do not give them free information. Number 6, 4-betting mid pairs. Guys, this is an absolute killer for beginner and amateur level players. Let me give you an example. You raise it up with pocket 9s. That's the 9 of hearts and the 9 of spades. And once again, a regular player 3-bets you. Now, a 3-bet in poker is essentially when somebody re-raises you before the flop, you decide to 4-bet, and that's the next raise. As you can imagine, they shove all in. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest here. This is a total disaster because basically you have to fold your hand at this point when a regular opponent has decided to go all in before the flop. You cannot call here with pocket 9s. They are representing pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, pocket 10s at worst, or ace king. You are absolutely destroyed by this range of hands, and that is why it is crucially important that you learn to see more flops with all of these mid-pocket pairs like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, and pocket 10s. It is much better to just call the 3-bet, which is the re-raise, by the regular opponents before the flop. Do not get yourself in one of these raise, re-raise wars with these mid-pocket pairs. They are far too powerful. You want to just control the size of the pot before the flop so that you do not have to fold like in this situation. Number 7, overplaying small pairs. So let's talk about the baby pocket pairs now, and a lot of players misplay these hands these days as well. So let's jump into the example once again. A tight player raises and you decide to call with pocket 4s. Flop comes down with the 9 of spades, 8 of diamonds, and 6 of hearts. They bet. Guys, I'm going to be super frank here. You need to just fold your hand right now. Cut your losses, get out of here. This is not one of those pots that you want to fight for. Let's talk about why. Number 1, this is a highly coordinated board with all sorts of straight draws. If this player has any 7 in their hand, they have a straight draw. If they have a hand like Jack 10, they have a straight draw. And they also have 2 overcards to your hand. They are literally a statistical favorite versus your pocket 4s. Even if they have a draw, they are statistically ahead of you right now. But remember, this is a tight player that raised before the flop. What is this player's actual range? Well, it's likely hands like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, pocket 10s, and possibly ace king. Almost all of these hands, except ace king, have you absolutely crushed in this situation. They are massive statistical favorites, and even ace king still has 6 solid outs. There are 3 remaining aces and 3 remaining kings in the deck for them to catch on the turn or river. So bottom line, guys, do not fight for every single pot. In this situation, you only have 2 outs to save your life, and an out, by the way, is just a card in poker that will make you the best hand, and those would be the 4 of spades and the 4 of clubs. It is pretty unlikely that you're going to catch one of those cards on the turn or river. Learn to cut your losses in situations like this, and your results are going to improve dramatically. And by the way, if you want to know my entire strategy to absolutely obliterate these small and mid-stakes poker games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. You'll learn exactly what hands to play and when to bet, raise, and bluff based on my entire system as a 10+ year professional poker player. Like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.